Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. This was a popular lottery, so I expect there will be a few households here, so I'm going to give it a minute before we get started. Just quick background, my name is David Cashman. I'm with SEB Housing. I'm a project manager. And before we do the lottery, I'll give some context and some background so that you have a sense of how the lottery is going to be run, how the waiting list will be created, and what the next steps are going to be. So give me just a minute. I'm going to turn off my camera for just a second, and then when I come back in like just 1 minute, we'll get started. I see households are still filing in, so just give me 1 minute and we will get started. Thank you. Just show this on. Sorry, looks like we got 14 people here, so let's get started. So let me give you a little bit of background information, and then probably talk for about 10 minutes. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them. We'll do the actual lottery drawing, and then I'll stick around after to answer any other questions that may have come up. There were a total of 353 applications for this lottery. 86 of those households indicated that they qualified for local preference, meaning they live in Brookline, work in Brookline, or have kids attending the Brookline schools. As you may recall, some of the lottery waiting lists, households who have local preference will get priority as compared to households who don't. In total, there are 6 different waiting lists, which are as follows. There is a local preference studio waiting list. There is one of those units, and there are 82 applicants for them. 12 qualified for local preference. There are 4 one-bedroom units that have local preference. There were 158 applicants. 34 of them qualified for local preference. There is a local preference 2-bedroom waiting list for 2 units. There were 118 households who applied for those. 105 of them were type 2 or type 3 households, meaning larger household types who will get priority. 13 are type 1 households. 33 households qualify for local preference. There is a general open waiting list for 1 studio unit that's mobility accessible for households who need the specific features of that unit that are built out for persons with mobility impairment. There's 1 such unit and 2 households who applied for it who said that they needed those special mobility features. There is a general open waiting list for a 2-bedroom unit that is hearing accessible. There is 1 such unit and 7 applicants who applied. So that unit also has some special features for persons who are deaf or hard of hearing. And lastly, there is a 3-bedroom unit that is also built out for persons with mobility impairments. That's also on the general list. That's 1 unit. And in total, we actually have 114 households on that list. That's because it's the only 3-bedroom unit made available in this lottery. So that list includes both people who need the features of that 3-bedroom mobility unit and people who don't need the features. But the people who need the features, the 9 of them, will be higher on the waiting list. Everything I've just said and everything I'm going to say is going to be in an email that I'm going to send to everyone, which I expect to go out by tomorrow by midday, hopefully at the latest. So if any of that is a lot of details and numbers that's hard to digest, don't worry about it. It's all going to be in the documents, the email that I send you, and you can take your time to look through it and process it. Now, let me just share something because I think this will be helpful to see. In a little bit here, we're going to do the lottery drawing. Can everyone see the information packet, the waiting list that I've shared on my screen? Okay, so we could, okay, in theory, we could do separate lottery drawings for each of the 6 waiting lists. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, here's 5, here's 6. Here are 6 separate waiting lists. And we could say, hey, this is now the drawing for the 1 studio local preference apartment. And I could first take every local preference household who applied for a studio unit, put them in random.org, which is an online random sequence generator. It would spit them out. They'd be the top households on that list. And then I could take all of these households, all the non-local preference households who applied for a studio unit, and I could put them in random.org, and it would shuffle up the numbers, spit it out, and they would be in that bottom tier. And then I could go to the 4 one-bedroom local apartments, and I could take all the local preference households again and do a drawing in random.org. And it would spit out different numbers. I'd put them on the waiting list as the top households. And then I could take these households. Sorry, it's grabbing more lines than I want. I could take all the bottom tier, all the non-local preference households who applied for a 1-bedroom, put them in random.org, have it shuffle them up, spit out a new sequence, put them behind the local preference households, and on we'd go. That takes a lot of time. So rather than doing that, the way this works is we do 2 lottery drawings. The first one is I take all the local preference households, I put them in random.org, all of their numbers, I think there were 86 of them, and random.org is going to spit out a totally random, different order. Then I'm going to take all the households in the entire lottery, whether local or non-local, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put their numbers into random.org, and it's going to spit out a totally separate order. After the fact, tonight, I am then going to go in on the back end and do all of this sorting, okay? It's much more efficient and cleaner that way, and there are fewer mistakes, I think. To be candid, from a viewer's perspective, it means that as you're watching it, you're probably scratching your head going, what does this mean? It just spit out all these numbers. Where am I? I don't know. And I'm going, I don't know either. I'll know in about 2 hours from now or an hour from now after I do all the sorting on the back end. But that's how it works, okay? So as a general matter, it's better to have a higher number when random.org spits out the numbers than it is to have a lower number. But it doesn't tell you exactly where you are, right? Because if you are a local preference household and you get picked, 10th, you don't even know if the 9 households ahead of you have applied for the same bedroom style that you have. So you could actually be first on a list, or you could be lower than that. If you're a type 1 household applying for a 2-bedroom, right? I mean, eligible type 1 local preference households are in the 3rd tier on the 2-bedroom list. So again, all that's to say, being higher on the list where random.org, when it does its new list is better, but it doesn't tell you where you're going to be on the waiting list. But that's okay, because when we send you all the results tomorrow, we will have organized it. Okay, so we will have organized all of the 6 waiting lists top to bottom with each of the households who applied for the different bedrooms, and you'll be able to just find your application number. That was the number you got when you entered the lottery. That was A.blank blank blank, so A.001, A.002, all the way up through A.353. And you'll just find where you are. And you might be on multiple waiting lists if you applied for multiple bedroom sizes. So you just go through those. And your eligibility notice told you which bedroom sizes you were eligible for. So if you know, like, hey, I know I applied for, a studio and a 1-bedroom, and you were eligible for both, then you'll be on both lists, and you'll just find your number. those numbers, as I think we've said before, they have no meaning other than to keep your name out of it. They're just a random way of assigning you an identifying number, and then you can find that number on the waiting list and know where you stand relative to other households on the waiting list. Okay, so a couple more things and then we'll do the drawing. Sometimes we have to do a balancing, a local preference minority drawing if there are insufficient minority households in the local preference pool. That was not remotely the case here. 82.5% of the people who identified as local preference also identified as minority, which is almost 3 times the percentage of minorities in the surrounding area. So there's no balancing we need to do. As I said before, we're going to do two separate drawings. First will be the local preference households, then we'll do all the households in the entire lottery. So it'll be 2 separate drawings in random.org. If you want, afterwards, I can tell you where you were on that list. Again, just make sure you understand where random.org puts you isn't exactly where you're going to be on the waiting list, because that's something I need to do after the fact on the back end. We're still waiting for a leasing office contact. That's why you see the red here. So once we have that, we can send out the results tomorrow. But as a reminder, to get into the lottery, you filled out probably the JOT form application, or maybe you submitted a paper application or scanned it to us. But we put you in the lottery based on what you said your income and assets were and whether you appeared eligible based on your self-reporting. That's step 1. Step 2 is the top households in the lottery can expect to get invited forward by the management team. SEB Housing is not the management team. Okay, we're an off-site affordable housing lottery agent and consultant. So we help with the application, putting together all the materials, interfacing with all the applicants, conducting the lottery, handing off the waiting list to the leasing office management team. But we're not on site. So for top households after the lottery, your next step is going to be to work with the management team. You'll complete a leasing, a rental application. Likely the management team is going to look at some things that we haven't looked at. So they might be looking to see what your rental history is. They probably are also going to look at some of your income and asset documentation to make sure you have enough money to afford the rent. They may do a credit check. They might do a query check to make sure you don't have a criminal background. Okay, so these are totally separate things that SEB never asked about and never looked at because they're not requirements of being eligible for the affordable housing program. They're requirements that every leasing office has to rent a unit, whether you're applying for an affordable unit or a market rate unit or anything in between, right? All management teams do some type of review to make sure that the people applying meet their criteria. If you pass that and you're lease eligible, you'll be able to select a unit of your choice from the waiting list that you're on, that you were invited from. And then you will move to step 3, which is to undergo the full program certification with SEB Housing. That's the point at which you're going to have to provide to us your pay stubs and your bank statements and your 1099s and your 2024 tax filing, all of the things that prove how much money you make and what you have in assets. Because again, in step 1, to get into the lottery, you just told us and we said, okay, you say you make $50,000 a year, you make $50,000 a year. But in step 3, you have to actually show us the documentation that proves that, because we are not allowed to simply take it at face value. You have to demonstrate it. If you are not eligible, we'll let you know. Many households are not complete on the first try, and that's okay. We will give you a bulleted, clear checklist of, okay, here's all the things you gave us, here's what's missing. Please submit the missing documents. Hopefully you spent a little bit of time on that guide that we sent when we sent you the notice that you were eligible for the lottery, because that guide laid out in painstaking detail all the things that would be required of you after the lottery if you're invited to move forward. So hopefully you have some of those things ready. If not, that's okay. You're just going to have to move a little bit more quickly if you get that invite. And if you are eligible for the program, then you can sign a lease and be done. Breathe a sigh of relief and say, okay, that was a process. I got through it, and now I'm ready to move in. What an awesome opportunity living in the heart of Brookline in a wonderful brand new unit. So I think that's it in a nutshell. There may be a few more things in the handout. Like I said, we'll send that with the results so you can study that at your on your own time. And without further ado, are there any questions, or should I go ahead and just do the lottery drawing? Oh, that's not a good sign. Do the lottery drawing. Okay, give me a sec here. Just make sure that just got kicked off my network. Oh, we got a raised hand. Well, I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second here. Okay, see in the chat. Where's the raised hand? I saw it. Where are you?
Isabel.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Isabel. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, so after the process, when is the move? Is the house already built up to move in?
On TikTok. Hi, Ambassador.
You know?
Yeah. These units are I think, very close to being ready, and that's something you'll have to work out with the management team in terms of, if you're invited forward and you pass all those steps, they would work with you to figure out a move-in date that makes sense for all parties.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right, give me 1 sec. Let me just make sure that I'm connected here. Otherwise, everything I do will not save, which would not be good. Okay, seem to be all right. Okay, let me share again. Okay, can you see I've got random.org up? So again, this is just the free online website, and it will provide true randomization. The city of Boston uses it for all of their lotteries. And like I said, I'm going to start with the local preference drawing, so let's do that. So here is my local drawing. I'm going to take all of these numbers. I'm going to copy. Make sure I got them all. I'm going to paste, and then I'm going to hit randomize. Here is our new order. Let me copy these. I'll separate those later to do it right now. Okay, and after we do this, I can take questions about where people were drawn, but let me just do the general drawing first. So before I do that, just want to quickly check. Okay, we're good there. And then we're going to go back. Get rid of all these. Okay, do the general drawing. Okay, here's the general drawing, so I'll paste them in there and hit randomize. And here they are. Oh, look at that. A.001 was first. That's unusual. Just to have it go like that. Copy that. And goes in here. Okay. Who has an application number that they would like me to tell them where they were drawn? Anyone? And just again, these are not the waiting lists. I know we went over that, but I know it's confusing. These results, in addition to other factors, like if you have local preference, your household type 1, 2, or 3, need of a mobility unit, need of a hearing impaired unit, all of those are going to get thrown in the stew, and I'm going to use them to order the wait lists after this call concludes. That being said, I'm happy to tell you where you were drawn by random.org now. Just keep in mind that's not your actual waiting list position. It's just one factor that influences it. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute, Andrea. Let's see.
Sorry.
How about now? There you go.
I'm 133.
Okay. So there you are on the general list, 126.
Okay.
And looks like you were not local.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else?
A305 is a
A305. $37th on the local list. $76th on the general list. Anyone else?
You said 37 on the John.
76th on the general list and 37th on the local list.
All right, thank you.
You got it.
A025, general list, please.
$65th. 65th. Anyone else?
A76?
076?
Yes.
Yep. 87th in the general drawing. 22nd in the local drawing. Eric, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, A203.
A203. $230th in the general drawing. Anyone else?
260.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
260 in general.
262. Okay.
260.
So 262.
60. 260.
260. Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry. You are 232nd in the general drawing and not in the local. Yeah, go ahead. Ma'am, in the with the iPhone, I see your hand raised, but I don't. There's no name on your screen. Trying to get you to unmute there. There you go. I'm still not hearing you. No, I'm not hearing anything. Let me move to Diego and then I'll come back to you. Diego, go ahead.
275.
275.
Thank you.
Yep. Diego, 324th in the general drawing.
Thank you.
Yep. Ma'am, with the iPhone again, do you want to try again?
We didn't get it. We didn't get it. 320.
351.
351. Okay, 351 is 309th in the general drawing and 61st in the local drawing. Okay, Lee W., go ahead.
009.
78th in the general drawing.
Thank you.
Okay, JL,
A320 in the general.
27th. Okay. Sorry if I'm gonna say this wrong. Hyun?
Yeah.
Sorry,
210.
210. 115th in the general drawing. I don't see you in the local drawing. Let's see here. Anyone else? Have I missed anyone?
The lady in the iPhone, I believe she's having like her headphones gotta come out. She's trying
Yeah,
to
I still
speak.
can't
And I think
hear
she's
you.
like Spanish. I don't know. I believe she's Spanish. And
Ma'am, with the iPhone, maybe you could, are you able to type your question? I'm just still not hearing anything from you.
Can
I'm
you
gonna
do
try and
A117 budget?
A117, sure.
Thank you.
Uh, 13th in the general drawing. 63rd in the local drawing. Okay. Anyone else? Ma'am, in the car, I'm so sorry. It's not coming through. I just can't hear you. Is there anyone else who's looking for their number who who hasn't had a chance to ask yet?
350.
Yep. A350. Oh, that's 1350. That's not gonna work. 85th in the local drawing. 18th in the general drawing. Anyone else? And folks, I'm sorry if you've put something in the chat. It's hard to be simultaneously answering questions verbally and reading the chat. So if you don't mind just asking your question, I'd appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, I think that's it. We're not going anywhere. If people have questions after, you can certainly still get in touch with us. Like I said, we hope to have all these details and the results out to you by, midday tomorrow. We're just waiting on a few things from the leasing office. But as soon as they get that information to us, we will send you the results. We wish everyone the best of luck with next steps, and thanks for your interest. Yeah, thank you for coming out. So have a good night, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.